Moving directly into Section 1, Introductions, our proposed system QMS Flow is a centralized, cloud-based web application tailored specifically to address the critical compliance risks faced by company XYZ. Currently, the company operates on manual paper logs and fragmented spreadsheets, which causes severe versions confusions and inefficiencies. QMS Flow acts as single source of truth to streamline their quality management framework. For Section 1.1, the purpose of this system documentation is to build a highly structured, unambiguous technical blueprint that covers the requirements, design, and testing life cycles. This ensures that our project team can develop the system accurately, the client can verify their business logic alignment, and our academic evaluators can assess our methodology. Under Section 1.2 scope, QMS Flow focuses strictly on quality automations. The system will electronically log active SOP during executions to block unauthorized modifications and broadcast automated notifications for device calibrations. However, the system boundary strictly excludes general ERP tasks such as commercial invoicing and employee payroll. Section 1.3 defines the baseline terminology and abbreviations used throughout our documentations. These include core operational concepts such as QMS, Standard Operating Procedures, and CAPA, alongside our main software engineering lifecycle, which are the SRS, SDD, and STD. In Section 1.4, our engineering synthesis is backed by robust academics and regulatory references. We utilize Ian Somerville's software engineering methodologies, official ISO 9001 compliance standards, and benchmark enterprise solutions like Master Control and Qt9 to refine our functional logic. Concluding Section 1 with the documents overview in Section 1.5. This system documentation is structured into three main operational phases, which is Section 2, outline our functional requirements. Section 3, maps out our architectural and database design blueprints. And Section 4, establish our formal software testing document.
Formal SRS for QMS Flow. So this section serves as the formal system requirement specification, which is SRS. So by providing data for designer and also tester. So for user receivable requirements, so all specification focus on the user stimulation, system action, and real-time response to support automated ISO workflow. For user characteristic and roles, so first of all, a quality manager, which is a high domain knowledge of ISO standard and responsible for managing audit, documentation, and initiative. The next is employee, so which is responsible for login complaint and providing digital audit evidence and assessing the latest standard operating procedure, which is SOP. And then the next is system administrator, so it is an advanced technical expertise and manage the 30th architecture, user permission, and ensure the single source of truth is secure. And then the next is security and accountability. So all users must register and provide credential, and the system use document locking and access control for compliance.
Moving on to the system features. So what is our system? It is QMS Flow. The QMS Flow is a cloud-based quality management system developed for XYZ as the Emperor to automate and streamline ISO 9001:2015 quality operations. It runs on a secure web platform with role-based access for quality managers, employees, and even administrators. We have 4 key modules: audit management, document management, customer complaint management, and CAPA, corrective and preventive action management. Our main features of the system is real-time tracking of audits, complaints, and corrective actions. We secure electronic document control and approvals. We automate notifications and compliance reminders. We also centralize the digital storage for audit and quality records. We have role-based dashboards for different user groups and electronic audit trails to ensure accountability and compliance. So this is our user case diagram, and we have actors of quality manager, auditor, employee, system, and approver. Beside is the user case description. From the 4 modules, we have another 2 additions for the modules. So we have a total of 8 functions, where the first is audit planning, record audit findings, submit document for approval, improvement of the document, log customer complaint, assign and resolve complaints, initiate the CAPA, and verify CAPA effect.
So this slide shows the domain model for QMS Flow. The domain model represents the main classes, attributes, and relationship used in the system. So the main classes included user, audit, complaint, CAPA, document, approval, notification, audit checklist, and audit trail. So the user class represents the employees, quality managers, and administrators who interact with the system. So complaint and audit classes can generate CAPA records for corrective and preventive action. So the document and approval classes supports the change control module, while the audit trail records the system activities for traceability purposes. So overall, the domain illustrates how the four models in QMS Flow are connected and interact with one another. So this slide presents the state diagram for the document class in QMS Flow. The state diagram shows the life cycle of a document within the change control module. So initially, the document starts with the draft state. So after submission, the document moves to the under review state for evaluation by the quality manager. So if the document is approved, it transitions to the approval state. If correction are needed, it moves to the revised state, so the modification can be made before the resubmission. So finally, outdated or inactive documents are moved to the archive state for record keeping purposes. So this process ensures a proper document control and support quality management compliance with the organization.
So what is the purpose for plan audit? It is to illustrate the step-by-step interaction between the quality manager, the audit management system, and the database repository when creating a scheduling an audit plan. So it shows how the system receives audit planning information, validates the entered details, stores the audit schedule, assigns auditors and departments, and confirms successful audit creation. Moving on to the activity diagram for plan audit, we have the actor as quality manager. The workflow logic is basically at start, the process begins when the quality manager accesses the audit management module, and then it initiates the audit planning when the quality manager selects plan audit, and then when the quality manager enters the audit details, the manager basically fills in audit types, departments, assigned auditors, audit dates, and audit scope. And then we submit the audit plan, the entered information is then submitted into the system, and then we validate the process. Basically, the system checks whether all the required information is completed, and then the decision is no. If it's invalid, the system displays an error message. If it's valid, the workflow continues. The start audit plan. The system saves the audit schedule in the centralized repository, generates audit ID, then sends notification, and it ends. This is an example of the process. 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 The purpose for recorded audit findings. So it is to demonstrate how an auditor records audit findings and submits supporting evidence into the system during an active audit session. So it basically explains how the system captures findings and observations, validates uploaded evidence, stores audit records securely, and update audits the status, and also notifies the quality. Next is the activity diagram for recording audit findings. So the actors are auditor and quality manager, which receives notifications and also results. So the workflow logic here is that it starts by when the auditor accesses the active audit session, and then they select the audit session, and then they enter the audit findings, which are the findings, observations, non-conformities, and recommendation. Then they upload the supporting evidence, they submit the findings, validation processes, but does the decision note. If it's invalid, the system displays an error. If it's valid, the workflow proceeds. And then it stores the finding, update audit status, notifies the quality manager, and this is an example of the process. 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 This is an example of the process.
So next is the sequence diagram for use case 3. It maps the timing of messages between the employee and the system. Here, the controller acts as a security gate, ensuring the document is logged and validated before it is committed to the database. Very straightforward. This activity diagram shows our workflow logic. The main actor is the employee. The system checks the file format. If valid, it automatically applies a digital log and notifies the quality manager. If invalid, the flow loops back for a re-upload. Simple and secure. Finally, let's watch the live system demo for use case 3, focusing on form integrations and error handling. As you can see, the employee populates the form fields, including the required metadata and file upload. If I upload an invalid, unapproved file format, our system interceptor immediately blocks the actions and display a real-time error banner on the UI to protect the database integrity. Once we fix it, by uploading a standard compliant PDF, the form processes perfectly, applies the backend digital log, and moves the status to pending review. Next is the sequence diagram for use case 4, approved documents. It tracks the exact message timing when the quality manager signs off. Once authenticated, the controller commands the database to increment the system versions, update the file status to publish, and automatically log the entire event into our immutable audit trail. This ensures total transparency. This activity diagram outlines the high-level workflow for our approval. The system presents a clear decision diamond. If the manager clicks approve, the system concurrent processes, the electronic signs off, and archive the old versions. However, if they click reject, the alternative path immediately unlocks the document and route it back to the employee for correction. Finally, let's watch the live system executions for use case 4. As shown in the video, the quality manager can review the entire document's metadata directly from their dashboard. For form integrations, approving requires secure credential verification to push the file live. For error and exception handling, if the manager triggers a rejection, the system strictly blocks empty submissions, forcing them into input a mandatory reason before unlocking the draft for the employee. Everything runs smoothly in full alignment with our design.
So for use case 005, the use case is log customer complaint. So the purposes of this use case is to allow employees to record customer complaints into the QMS flow system for tracking and investigation purposes. So this process helps the organization manage complaints systematically and maintain a proper quality management records. So the actor involved in this use case is the employee. So the workflow begins with the employee access the customer complaints module and selects the log complaint function. The employees enter the customer details, product information, and complaint description and complaint date before submitting to the complaint form. So next, the system validates the entered information. So if the information is incomplete or invalid, the system displays an error message and the employee needs to re-enter back the details. If the information is valid, the system automatically generates a complaint ID, stores the complaint record in the centralized database, and displays a confirmation message. So the complaint logging process is then completed successfully. So this use case integrates with the complaint management module, complaint form, notification system, and centralized repository. So possible errors include the incomplete complaint details, invalid information, duplicate complaint records, and a database failures. So this use case integrates with the complaint management module, complaint form, notification system, and centralized repository. So possible errors include the incomplete complaint details, invalid information, duplicate complaint records, and a database failures. So this use case integrates with the complaint management module, complaint form, notification system, and centralized repository. So possible errors include the incomplete complaint details, invalid information, duplicate complaint records, and a database failures. So this use case integrates with the complaint management module, complaint form, notification system, and centralized repository. So possible errors include the incomplete complaint details, invalid information, duplicate complaint records, and a database failures. So this use case integrates with the complaint management module, complaint form, notification system, and centralized repository. So possible errors include the incomplete complaint details, invalid information, duplicate complaint records, and a database failures. So this use case integrates with the complaint management module, complaint form, notification system, and centralized repository. So possible errors include the incomplete. Next is UC006, which is assign and resolve complaint. The purpose of this use case is to manage complaint investigation and resolution process within the QMS flow system. So it ensures that complaints are investigated properly and unresolved issues are escalated to the CPA module when necessary. So the actors involved are the quality manager and a responsible person. So the workflow starts when the quality manager reviews the complaint details in the customer complaints module. So the quality manager assigns the responsible person to investigate the complaint. So the system then sends an assignment notification to the assigned personnel. After that, the responsible person investigate the complaint issue and submit the investigation result into the system. So the system updates the investigation details, the quality manager reviews, and the resolution outcome. So if the complaint is resolved successfully, the system updates the complaint status and displays a resolution confirmation message. However, if the complaint is not resolved, the system generates a CPA record, links the complaint to the CPA module, and notifies the quality manager for further corrective action. So this use case integrates with the complaint investigation form, CPA module, complaint database, notification system, and centralized repository. So possible errors include the missing investigation details, delayed submission, invalid resolution information, and a database update failures. So this use case integrates with the complaint investigation form, CPA module, complaint database, notification system, and centralized repository. So possible errors include the missing investigation details, delayed submission, invalid resolution information, and a database update failures. So this use case integrates with the complaint investigation form, CPA module, complaint database, notification system, and centralized repository. So possible errors include the missing investigation details, delayed submission, invalid resolution information, and a database update failures. So this use case integrates with the complaint investigation form, CPA module, complaint database, notification system, and centralized repository. So possible errors include the missing investigation details, delayed submission, invalid resolution information, and a database update failures. So this use case integrates with the complaint investigation form, CPM module, complaint database, notification system, and centralized repository. So possible errors include the missing investigation details, delayed submission, invalid resolution information, and a database update failures.
Okay, for purpose and context, so which is capture the missed equipment calibration dates, which is non-conformity flagged during the external audit. For actor is one is the auditor for logging the finding, and then the second one is the employee, which is initiate the. To form integration, which is the workflow, is the actor fill the custom initiate form by selecting the categories that seen on the form, and then the next is data storage, which is the record is stored in the secure centralized repository with a pending status while awaiting the quality manager assignment. Then the next one is error handling, which is the system prevent submission if mandatory fields such as the brief description of non-conformity are left blank. To form integration, which is the workflow, is the actor fill the custom initiate form by selecting the categories that seen on the form, and then the next is data storage, which is the record is stored in the secure centralized repository with a pending status while awaiting the quality manager assignment. Then the next one is error handling, which is the system prevent submission if mandatory fields such as the brief description of non-conformity are left blank. To form integration, which is the workflow, is the actor fill the custom initiate form by selecting the categories that seen on the form, and then the next is data storage, which is the record is stored in the secure centralized repository with a pending status while awaiting the quality manager assignment. Then the next one is error handling, which is the system prevent submission if mandatory fields such as the brief description of non-conformity are left blank. To form integration, which is the workflow, is the actor fill the custom initiate form by selecting the categories that seen on the form, and then the next is data storage, which is the record is stored in the secure centralized repository with a pending status while awaiting the quality manager assignment. Then the next one is error handling, which is the system prevent submission if mandatory fields such as the brief description of non-conformity are left blank. To form integration, which is the workflow, is the actor fill the custom initiate form by selecting the categories that seen on the form, and then the next is data storage, which is the record is stored in the secure centralized repository with a pending status while awaiting the quality manager assignment. Then the next one is error handling, which is the system prevent submission if mandatory fields such as the brief description of non-conformity are left blank. To form integration, which is the workflow, is the actor fill the custom initiate form by selecting the categories that seen on the form, and then the next is data purpose and context, so which is a validation by quality assurance, which is QA, to ensure that the preventive action successfully address the root cause. Workflow integration, so first of all is action completion. So once the action owner complete the immediate recalibration and verify the measurement accuracy, so the system trigger verification task, and then the next one is the QA review, which is the QA actor perform the 30-day effectiveness checklist on form to ensure no other calibration date were missed after the new module outcome based on form evaluation. So if it is effective, so because the dapat approve box it checks on the form, the quality manager officially close and achieve the record in the repository. And then the next one, if not effective, and then the another calibration had been missed within the 30-day window, the system could have reopened the CHAPA for a deeper root cause analysis, which is the like 5. For organizational, so it is a strict adherence to ISO and requires synchronized approval workflow and an electronic audit trail. Next is environmental, which is the hardware must operate in factory condition. The next one is hardware specification. For the server, we use 16 GB RAM, and then the client use like 8 GB RAM. The next one is security, so implement role-based access control and encryption for sensitive data, and also compatibility must support the latest browser, and also use SMTP for automatic alert. And then the next one is performance. It's a support 15 concurrent user with a response time under